Hello, in this hands-on you're going to learn the following things about MIFARE Desfire EV1 tags. You're going to see how to find the available free memory in the card and the different methods of selecting a master file. If you recall from my earlier videos, in any Desfire tag, the topmost application or the topmost folder is called as a master file. You're going to learn how to change the master key values. So I'm going to consider only one method, that's called the two key des. There are two other methods which I'm not going to consider in this video. You're also going to learn how to change the master key setting, and you're also going to learn how to format a card. Format a card is very similar to formatting a disk or a hard drive. So where once the formatting is done, all the data is lost or erased. So a very similar concept applies in Desfire tag as well. So before I start showing you how to do all these things, so there are certain things you should be familiar with, which you have gone through this in my earlier videos. So this is the structure of a Desfire tag. See, a Desfire tag has got the master root or a master record or a master application, that is the topmost folder. There's only one key in the master file, and under this there are so many subfolders, or you can call it as applications or a directories or a folder, and each of these folders can have a maximum of 14 keys. The minimum is 1 and maximum is 14. When you buy a new card, the values of all these keys are set to zeros, that is 16 zeros, and even all the application or the DF, okay, sometimes in some of the books it's called as a DF, it's called a dedicated file. The default keys are also 16 zeros. So when I say 16 zeros, I meant 16 bytes or 16 hexadecimal values. And as we already know, each directory or each applications can have a number of files. So you must have a good understanding about this simple structure. So I've started my learning kit, and what I'm going to discuss now is available in version 1.5.2. So I've connected my RFID reader writer and I'm going to start now. So first you click on show readers, and it has recognized there's one reader. I'm going to place a Desfire 2K. Connect. Now I made some changes in this screen. So I have introduced a new tab called master file, because there's so many things you have to learn about the master file. So whatever I had bits and pieces in various other tabs, I have moved it all in one place. So here if you click this button called free memory, it shows the 2K has got 2304 bytes, and this card has got no files and applications, so probably this is what the available memory is. So I'm going to try this on the Desfire 4K, and here it says it has got 4864 bytes. And finally I'm going to try with the Desfire 8K. Close and connect again, and it says you got 7936 bytes. So I might have created one or two files or keys and deleted, And if you try this on your cards, you might find a few bytes less or more. And one thing I would like to mention here is I have got Desfire of three different sizes, 2K, 4K and 8K, and I'm not going to use 2K because that's the only tag I've got and I don't want to buy this anymore. And in fact, the cost difference between 8K and 4K are nothing, to be honest. So probably now you can, if you want to buy any new tags, you can buy the Desfire 8K, so you get a higher memory. So I'm going to create a few files here, and I'm going to say how the memory affects here. So for example, I'm going to bring back this 8K, and I got free memory as 7936. Let's go and create few applications with some files. So I'm going to have application starting with call this as A2, A1 and 0. So there's something new has come here as well. If you want to know what's the decimal, the actual number equivalent of this, you can click here, and this is how the files or the folders are identified by the Desfire. And because we are creating applications which are ISO compatible, you have to specify the 2 bytes file ID here. I'm going to use these last 2 bytes the A1, A0 as a file ID. You can give whatever you like. So call this as, say, application 1, appl.txt, and create. So I have just created a single file. Let's go back and see what is the available memory now. If you click on free memory, it says 7808. So some kind of 100 bytes or 120 bytes has been taken away by this application. Also keep in mind the amount of memory taken up by application depends on so many factors here, and the first thing is, the most important thing here is the number of keys. So here I have created applications with only one key. Let's try to create one more. So this time I'm going to use 1 and make this as 1, and I'm going to choose the number of keys as 5 keys. I'm going to keep all other things as the same. If you remember here, we have got 7808 available space. So you can change this, or you can just change this to 2. So if I click this button again, free memory, it says looks like it has taken more memory than for the first application. So what you have to understand here is the number of bytes taken up by an application depends on the number of keys, and also whether the application is a ISO file or not. Since the software doesn't let you create a non-ISO files, so it looks like any applications you create in this software, this section and the top section, they will be fixed, and the only thing that varies is number of keys. So likewise, I'm going to create one more applications with the ID as 2 and 2. Let's try to use the maximum available keys. As I mentioned, you can go up to 14. And one more thing you have to keep in mind here, the size also depends on the type of the key. Because I'm using the basic authentication, which is the 16 bytes and 2K DIS, so you also have got 3K or the 24 bytes keys and EAs as well. So probably these two, I haven't tried these two. Maybe in future videos, I'm going to make use of these two as well. So probably using 3 days or AAs will also affect the amount of memory it's going to take. So create one more. Oh, it says the file creation error because I did not change. Probably it's the application DF name. So make this 3 and create. Yeah, it's created, and I have created an application with 14 keys. let's go, it is 7648, and if you hit this button free memory, it has taken almost 300 bytes for the application. Okay, and I think that's all about the free, how to find the free space, and also as you keep on adding the files for application, the free memory will start reducing. Next, I'm going to show you different methods of accessing the master file. So in the drop down list here, you got 5 entries, and it also means 5 different ways of accessing the master file. So why this is so important? There are certain operations before you must have the master file as your current application. Say for example, to format a tag, to get the free memory, and also to change the key of the master card. To do all these operations, you must select the master file. So this may not be very important for a normal user, but if you are a developer like me, you have to understand these different methods. So the first method is called using the application ID 0. Inside MyFi Desfire tag, every application is given a 24-bit number. The number 0 always refers to the master file. In other words, I cannot go and create a file with the Desfire ID as zeros, because the 0 is a reserved number which is meant for the master file. And the next method is using something called as the DF name, or I'm a bit confused with this terminology, but I'll tell you what exactly it is. Every application can have a ISO name or a reserved name. So MiFi Desfire tag also has got a reserved name, which you can find this from internet, and this is the name which something looks like something like what we have been using here. This is our own names. So whatever I enter here, that becomes the DF name. So you can also get your own application name. For example, if you have written an application which needs recognizing worldwide, then you have to get a name allocated for you or your organizations. So it's something like that. The next thing is about selecting using the ISO file ID. So if you're using these commands of type ISO 7816-4 commands, every file is given a 2 bytes or 16-bit number. The number 3F00 is reserved for the root folder or a master file folder. So this is something you will see when you look on internet about ISO 78164 commands. This is ISO commands. So if I click select, you can see that there's a message saying select application file. And if you want to know the syntax for sending this ISO, and most documentation will see that, you can see here as well. This is 0004, something like that. And the next thing is about, this is also part of the ISO 78164 command set. If the file ID is 0, this is just like Desfire ID is 0 reserved for the master file, the ISO file ID 0 is also reserved for the master file. So if you're using the ISO select file command, so you have to use the file ID 0 if you have to select the master file. And other thing is which I cannot run from here. This is if you're already in an application, so you can say, for example, these applications are the subfolders of the master file. So if my current application is this one of these subfolders, and if you want to go back to the master file, you can use this command called a parent of the current DF. So here right now I'm already in the master file. If I try to select now, obviously it says, it's an error because there is no master of the current file. So this command will work only when you are inside some of the applications. So keep in mind, these are the different ways of accessing master files, and you can find more information on internet and in many textbooks. Next, I'm going to discuss about the key settings and about how to change the master keys. So why is this key setting so important? So at present, the tag is open, in the sense anybody can select the tag, can go to the applications and see all the applications in there, and I can also go and create a new applications. So this is what we don't want. So when I finish my project with my customer, um, probably I will make this tag a read only, so that my customer cannot create any files, or they cannot see what's inside a file. The only way to see what's inside or to read is the program which I have written. So this concept can be pretty confusing initially. I'm going to make it easier by now describing in simple words. So this section here, this is related to the key settings. What you see here is the key settings of a new card. So let's understand what exactly these are, starting from this point. So here it says there is a tick mark here. It means okay, it's valid or it's enabled. So create or delete application is allowed without authentication. So it's very obvious. So what it says is I can go and create or delete applications. Even though it says delete is open, or you can delete an application without authentication, in fact you cannot do it. You have to authenticate. So that's what it means. So say for example, because this setting is enabled now, I can go here and create an application. Let's try to do that with the, just go reset and say A2, A1, and I'll use number 3, or I can just type in say number, say for example 25,965. So I got some numbers here. So I'm going to use 2D and 22 and create. So I just went and create application. What if I want to prevent this? I don't want anybody to open my tag and create an application. So to do that, I have to make changes to the key setting by removing this flag. So to do that, if you want to do any changes to this key settings, the first thing you have to do is you have to authenticate. So as I mentioned before, a new Desfire tag comes with the default keys of zeros. So this is the key. So first I have to authenticate. So you have to issue an authenticate command to the Desfire tag. So I have provided a button here. Now if I click that button, so it says, so authentication command has gone from the software to the Desfire. It says authentication okay. So now my card is in the authenticated state. So there are few commands which you can run or which the card accept only when it is in authenticated state, and one of the command is the setting the keys. So you can always read the current settings. So I've got a button here called read setting. So even if I just take all these keys, okay, so if I click on read settings, so we are issuing a command to get the values of the current key settings. So keep in mind we are discussing the key settings of the master file. A similar concept also applies for the application files and the files which I'm going to discuss in my future videos. Now what we would like to do is, I don't want anybody to create, so I'm going to remove this tick and click on change setting. So just got a warning, so because you have to be careful here, because there are certain things, like like this one, if you did that you cannot change. It's like a frozen card. Yes. So you got a message says pick key settings are okay. So that means it has been changed. And if you want to know whether it has changed or not, just go and remove all these ticks from the user interface. Try to read the values again. So you can see that here this is cleared. So what it means now is you cannot create or delete without authentication. Now how do we prove this thing? I'm going to select the tag, take out this tag again, place it back, and see now I don't know if I mentioned this before, but default when the RFID reader writer, when it activates the Desfire tags, the master file is already selected, it's already activated, so you don't have to again select it. It's nothing wrong, you can click select 100 times, so it's not going to make any changes. So here, see, this is the default setting. Okay, if you want to know what is it, you always have to hit this button. Let's try to go and create a file. So you can get all the listing, it's fine. I can read the listing. So I'm going to create a file here with the say 0, or you can simplest just go and type some number, say 32,000, something like that. Or you can first, I'm going to reset it so that it clears all the files. So 35,000 some number. So I need, it has to be 24-bit number. So I got some sorry, so 2643 and create. So I got an error message here that says the current authentication status does not allow the requested command. So it's obvious because now we have protected, you can't create or delete the application. So how do we do this now? You have to first, so before you create an application, I have to go and first authenticate it. Okay, so first I'm going to authenticate. We still have the default keys as all zeros. So authenticate, I got authentication. Okay, so now probably if I go and try to create the application, I still have all my entries here. You just have to go and click the create application command. So now I'm able to create. So what you have learned here is you can protect or you can prevent users creating the applications with these settings.